Hey scrapbooking friends, I'm Tricia Morris from Club Scrap with Club Scrap's Sprouts Page Kit. So during this video, we'll be sorting all of the materials that came in the collection onto 8 gorgeous 12x12 scrapbook pages. Now I'm going to begin by taking the photo mats that we've included in the collection. These are pre-cut to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and let's distribute them to one of 4 pockets that you'll find in our special accordion pocket file organizer. So if you don't have one of these, we do have a starter kit to help you make one for yourself, and I have got a video tutorial to help you make them. But in the meantime, just so that we can continue on, just keep 4 separate piles, one for each of the 4 double page spreads. Otherwise, use those pockets to keep everything handy and ready to go. Okay, so take 2 light green photo mats and put them in pocket 1 and 2. And then take 1 purple photo mat and put it in pocket 3 and 4, as well as 2 yellow photo mats, also in 3 and 4, and 2 dark green photo mats, also in pocket 3 and 4. So there are quite a few photo mats in those pockets. Okay, then we're moving on to the other light green photo mat that goes in pocket 5 and 6. And finally, 2 purple, 1 yellow, and 1 dark green. So that should be everything you have left. All of those will be used in layouts 7 and 8. So I've got a few in each pocket. And the next thing I'm going to do is just have you set aside the beautiful ribbon, those fun little plant tags, the craft seed packet envelopes and manila tags, and all the charms and buttons. Just go ahead and set all of those aside. And let's get this paper sorted into the order that we'll be trimming it. So I go over this pretty much every time I teach a class, just because I know that there are some of you who are new. So if you're new, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And when we sort the paper, what I'd like to do is put it in the crook of my arm so that I can see the paper from the top edge. It's much easier to do it this way than if it's sitting down on the tabletop. You can just sort it through like you're, remember the days shopping for records at the vinyl shop. Am I showing my age? Okay, so let's start out by finding the purple print. This is really a beauty. I absolutely love this. And then let's take that one sheet and put it face down on your trimmer base, just one of them. And then you're going to find 1 yellow plain, followed by 1 dark green. So there is a light green and a dark green. So let me just quick show you the difference between the two. There's that dark green and there's the light green. So grab 1 dark green, then 1 light green, followed by this single sheet of cut-aparts that have this striped pattern on the edge. I'll put that face down. And then the other cut-apart that has this leafy border on the edge, face down. Okay, then there should be around the top of your stack, close to it, if not at the top, 2 of these really cool green prints. Both of them go face down. And then the other purple print, face down, followed by 1 purple plain. Continuing on, we'll take a yellow, and it gets just much easier as the papers become fewer and fewer. Then the light green, the remaining purple, and the last dark green. Okay, so what we just did is put all of those papers in order. If you didn't quite catch all of that, rewind. Also, if you want to slow me down, just push the gear button on your YouTube channel right in the lower right corner, and then you can adjust the playback speed to like a 0.75 or even as low as a 0.5, and that will bring you to whatever speed you feel comfortable working with. If you just stick with this with me for several consecutive months, I promise that you'll improve your efficiency over time. Okay, so I've got my Fiskars guillotine trimmer here. Whenever we cut our paper, you just always want to make sure it's flush at the top edge so you have a nice 90-degree angle with your blade. And we're going to put the paper into the trimmer so that the watering can is down at the bottom center, down over here. Okay, so it's not right side up, just so that we're clear. I want you to cut at 7 inches. I know it's hard to cut these prints, isn't it? Then rotate so that the watering can is on the right, and we'll cut at 7.5. Okay, so this piece will be placed in pocket 1 and 2 along with the watering can piece. So both of those go in the first pocket. And then this other strip here with the print on it goes in pocket 3 and 4. Then we'll go ahead and grab our yellow plane and we'll trim this at 11 3/4. So it's really close to 12. We'll make a tiny piece and then slide down to 10 and 6. You'll notice that I always stabilize my paper on that clear bar before every single cut. Now rotate the 6x12 so it's horizontal. We'll trim at 8 and 4. Then gather up the 3 rectangles that you made. These are 4 by 6 inches, so they're all the same size and they all are used on layout 5 and 6. Then take the next 4 by 12 strip and we'll just cut it in half at 6 inches. We just made 2 more 4 by 6s and we'll put that in pocket 1 and 2. Finally, there's this wide and skinny strip that remains. We'll put both of these in pocket 5 and 6. Yes, we're going to use that skinny little strip. Okay, the next piece to trim is the dark green. Let's place this in the trimmer at 10 3/4. What I like about this trimmer is that there's a vertical guide every 1/4 inch. So if you're not really used to trimming, adding the quarters and halves and 3/4, you just count from the whole number 10, 1/4, a half, 3/4. Easy as that. Then 9 1/2. And 6. Okay, now rotate the 6x12 and we'll trim at 8 and 4. Okay, so let's gather up. There are 3 rectangles that are the same size again. 2 of them are used in layout 3 and 4, and the other one 7 and 8. The next strip in the pile to the right of our blade is 3 1/2 by 12, and we're going to cut again at 11 3/4, so way down there. 9 is next, and then 4 1/2. So you just made 2 rectangles that are the same size, and they're both used in layout 5 and 6. And then you have this little rectangle, 1 and 2. And then we have a really tiny piece. When I used to teach in-person classes, I would say, okay, put that in the trimmer and we'll cut. And then I would say, just kidding. And then everybody would relax because the intensity of trimming all this paper is kind of high level. So we are not trimming this. It is a scrap. Okay, so now you have 2 pieces that remain that are the same. One will be used in pocket 1 and 2 and the other 7 and 8. Okay, moving to the light green, we'll cut this at 11 1/4. So again, way down over here, 11 1/4, and 10, 9, 7 1/2, and then 4 1/2. Okay, now rotate this 4 1/2 inch piece. We'll cut at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. You just made 3 pieces that are the same size, and they're all going to be placed in pocket 7 and 8. There is a tiny little strip here. Put that in 5 and 6. The next piece, we're going to trim at all easy numbers, 9, 6, and 3. We'll make a series of squares. So 9, 6, and 3. All of these but 1. So take 3 of them and put the 3 squares in pocket 1 and 2 and the other in 7 and 8. The next strip in my stack goes in 5 and 6. The next one, 3 and 4. The next one, 1 and 2. And finally, the last one goes in 5 and 6 again. So the key to this kind of success here is to allow that paper to pile up without moving it, because then I can see it the next one and the next one and the next one, and it's in the same order. So try not to move anything that lands to the right of the trimming blade until I ask you to do that. Okay, so here we are on the cut aparts. There's a basic routine we'll do every time with these, and if you look carefully at the corner, you're going to notice a little plus sign that I'm going to call a registration mark, or a cut line. And what I want you to do is align your blade with that mark at the top and the bottom edge, so that you can remove approximately 1/8 of an inch from the perimeter of this piece. And by perimeter, I mean all 4 sides. Get that little trim up, This is going to give us the most accurate piece of artwork from which we'll trim our cut aparts. So just keep rotating. When you've made your second rotation, you should be at 12 inches on the left side. So we want to try to get this down to a 12-inch piece. And then one more rotation. Again, you should be able to be at 12. And I'm going to make one more little fresh cut here because I can see I was a little off. So I'm just fixing that up. And this is what I like about this trimmer. Look at the little piece I shaved off. Not a lot of trimmers can perform like this, especially trimmers that are so economically priced. You can dispose of those little end cuts, and then we'll trim this with the stripes on the right. Make sure they're running vertically. We'll cut at 11 1/4. 10, and you can always just double check to make sure that the blade's not cutting through any artwork. 7 1/4, and 4. Okay, now rotate this one and trim at 6. So the routine will be that we'll trim and then file one section at a time. Now both of these rectangles go in pocket 3 and 4, and then pick up the next piece. We have a lot of trimming to do here, so just bear with me. We'll start at 10 1/4, 8 1/2, 6 3/4, 5, and 2 1/2. Okay, so this, all things grow with love, 1 and 2. The next piece, 3 and 4, is just some greenery. I'm going to try to pick up all the rest of these little rectangles. Let's see, they kind of got out of order, so I'll try to get them back. Yes, no, we're good. This yellow one, 1 and 2. The bunny, 3 and 4, he's so cute. This grow, 1 and 2 again. And then this little journaling prompt with the watering can, 3 and 4. Pick up the next piece. We have a ton of cuts to make on this. The reason we're doing all these little strips of words are because of that plant tag set that we have included. So these are designed to fit perfectly onto the cute little plant tags we've included. We're going to make a bunch of cuts that create 1/2-inch strips to fit on those tags. So the first cut's at 11 1/2, then 11, 10 1/2, 10, 9 1/2, 9. Now we have a little bit bigger cut. We're going to go all the way to 8 1/4, then 5 1/2, and 2 3/4. Okay, we're going to take the 3 squares that we made. All 3 of them are placed in pocket 1 and 2. Then, as carefully as I can, I'm going to pick up all of those little 1/2-inch strips, except for, and including this larger one, and keep them in the order they landed. It'll just make filing easier. So the see good in all things, that's 1 and 2. Plants are my soil mates. You're going to love this, really funny. This goes in 5 and 6. Twist and sprout, 7 and 8. I think that's so cute. Now the next 3, so that's plant good things and these 2 little, the purple and the green planty things. All 3 of these go in pocket 5 and 6. And then nourish to flourish, that's 3 and 4. Okay, so when you are emptying the pockets, just make sure that you gather up all of those pieces. Now there's a wide strip here that says nothing in nature blooms all year, 5 and 6. And then this narrow strip is in pocket 3 and 4. Okay, we have one more round to make with this sheet of cut apart. Same deal. So go ahead, line up those registration marks with the edge of your blade as best as you can. Make your slice and then rotate until all those edges have been removed. We'll begin by trimming with this piece on the right. We always cut the littlest things off the end first. And our first cut's going to be at 11. And then 10. And 9. 8 1/2. 8 1/2. 7 1/4. 5 1/4. And 3.5. Okay, now we rotate. Got a routine going here. We'll trim at 10, 7.5, and 3 3/4. Okay, these two larger pieces go in pocket 5 and 6. This guy 1 and 2, and the purple strip 7 and 8. We're going to trim this piece into a series of squares with the exception of this little planter on the right. So make sure he's here before we cut at 10.5. Then 8 3/4, 7, 5 1/4, 3.5, 1 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to stack all these up. And every single one of the squares, there should be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, all go in 7 and 8. And then this little planter goes in 1 and 2. That is so cute. Okay, here we're going to kind of start it with the same number. Make sure the little planter is on the right. 10.5, 7, and 3.5. Now, the size of these three pieces that are the same, these are designed to fit onto the little bags we've included in the kit, just so you can see where we're headed. This one, this yellow piece goes in 5 and 6. Big Things, Small Beginnings, 3 and 4, and Breathe, also 5 and 6. Then this little planter guy, 3 and 4. All that's left is some strips. I'm going to gather all of them up at once. That's always the easiest. Okay, so all these little flowers, this one is so sweet. That goes in 3 and 4. Then this tiny little strip, 5 and 6. Purple strip, 1 and 2. Green strip, 1 and 2. Florals, 7 and 8. Okay, so I think we just pretty much had this as our scrap for making 8 pages. I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to set my trimmer aside. Before I do that, I always support my accordion pocket file so that since the trimmer is basically holding it up because of this lip here. So set that aside and begin the next phase of our time together, which is just zipping by. I'm going to take the entire remaining stack of papers that we've sorted in advance and put the entire stack to the left of the center of my workspace, and then just slide the top sheet over. What that did was just laid out the first 2 pages we're working with, which happen to be layouts number 7 and 8. So turn with me in your instructions, or flip or scroll to layout page. This is page 4 at the bottom. There's the picture of layout 7 and 8, and you'll see that these green prints are the base of those 2 pages. Then we're going to work backwards all the way up to layout 1 and 2, and that will be at the top of the stack, ready for you to adhere on your own. Since we kind of know how to use adhesive, we're not going to do that part together. Okay, so what we'll do is dry fit here, and that just means we're placing things where they belong just to make sure everything's in its right spot, and then the process of finishing these pages is really quick and easy. All right, so we have these 3, I think a good place to start is these 3 light green rectangles, and they're going to fit perfectly because of the way they're trimmed along the right edge of this layout. And then let's separate that area with a dark green strip nested with this little print here. You'll notice that I'm holding all of these pieces in my hand rather than trying to sort through them on a tabletop. And for the same reason when we sort the papers earlier, it's just easier to have them up. I can sort through, sift through as I'm dealing out the elements. A horizontal yellow photo mat will sit sort of in the middle of this page, and then you can tuck this little grow right in there. So sweet. I even moved it over a little bit. I didn't even want to cover. I didn't like covering these beautiful prints. Okay, now on the left of this page, it's a little bit hard to tell, but there are 2 vertical photo mats here. And then you'll notice with the green, one is larger than the other. So the smaller of the 2 green will go in this spot right on top. It nests. And the other one is horizontally across the bottom here. This green mat sits to the right. And then you have these these little squares. So I strategically placed them. So on the left, I have the text, plant smiles. And next to it, I have the image of planting. Then I have grow laughter with the image of that little, I guess we're shoveling and then we're planting seeds anyway, whatever. Then harvest love we have with our little image of the seedling. Isn't that cute? Little sprout right there. Okay, then at last we have the twist and sprout. You can attach this to a plant tag and then set that right here. And if you'd like, you can take some of the green jute that came in this collection and thread it through the buttonholes. Maybe if you just add this to a needle and then thread it through and then place it right here, just so you have like a little bow. You don't actually have to sew the button onto the page, but the green jute helps draw the eye to it. It gives it a little bit of oomph. It's completely optional, but that's how I use that button. We'll take a moment and just glance at the finished layouts. Here we have layout number 8, and the only thing I really added to this was some knotted, granulated ribbon here. I love this ribbon style, and a simple knot keeps a pretty low profile bow, and it doesn't use a lot of ribbon, and it's quick and easy. Now here on this one, you can see the addition of the jute. Again, it's not sewn on, it's just tied onto the button to add a little something to it. This, I used a grid ruler to help me. So depending on what size, our rulers come in all different sizes, but even something as small as this can help you get that job done and keep all those pieces nice and level and equally spaced. I use the grid ruler too on the right side of the layout to make sure that this is nice and level and evenly spaced as well. To move on to the next page, simply pick up only the base of layout 7, so that's just that one print, and slide it over. And then take just the next sheet itself and slide that over, so it's all stacking over, and that will present to us what we need for layouts 5 and 6. You just have to make sure that you go into pocket 5 and 6 to grab everything out of it. And once again, I'm going to try to get all of this into the palm of my hand. If you have that dexterity, it's just a great time to use it. Watch out for those little pieces. Make sure you don't leave them behind in the pocket. Okay, so across the top, we're going to have like a triple border here. So we'll start with yellow, and there should be a nestable green, followed by this larger one called Nothing in Nature Blooms All Year, Be Patient. I love that. Okay, we've got some yellow photo mats. Let's get those out of our hand, horizontally across the top here. And then we should have one more yellow to nest with this light green for this spot right here. Nice. Okay, now I have a little grid pattern. So I'm going to place this circular piece here. And again, if you have a lot of pictures, put a picture in this spot. I think it needs to be vertical actually. Then next to it, we should be able to fit a dark green. Now below the dark green, we'll fit the other, and then to the left. So do you see how that puzzles in there? Okay, so what's going to happen here down at the bottom, maybe I should have probably placed this first. I'm going to move that out of the way. Here we're going to have this light green strip, and then it should nest with this narrower strip. Just below it, this should be like spaced from the bottom of that, I'm going to add this guy. Now when I'm adding these narrow strips, rather than using my 1/2-inch ATG tape, I typically use the needle tip applicator with our bookbinding glue. So once this is attached, then I just run the nozzle of this along the edge and place it on top. So I don't put the glue on the paper. I put the glue, or on the paper I'm attaching, I put it on the base of the layout. Hope that made sense. Just a little tip if you've been doing it differently. This is, after a lot of trial and error, what I feel to be the quickest way to attach it. Now, if you just take this little, remember this little light green scrap we saved? He fits kind of into this space perfectly. And you can grab one of the white plant tags and place that right here. So it gives this plant tag some contrast, something to sit on. And we've got the word plant good things, and the same trick with the cute little button will go on top of that. You can use a brad to attach it as well. Lots of cute stuff happening down there. Okay, now on the other side, we've got these really cute little bags, and I chose not to load them with anything because sometimes it's hard to open a bag on a page. So what I did was nested this on here. I adhered it, and then folded this flap over. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. We'll attach this with some adhesive just so you can see how this worked. I did it with all 3 of the tags we included, or the bags. So center it, left, right, and bottom edge. Then you take that flap, you bring it over, and you can use a piece of ribbon and staple the ribbon to the top of the bag. I'm just skip the ribbon for now. You'll see on the finished project how that looks, but that's just a cute way to use these. And then you can put the word breathe on the other one and follow the same procedure. Then in the upper right corner, there is a complete set of 3 yellow plant tags. So I'll place those here, and naturally we'll sandwich plants are my soil mates with the green and purple greenery above and below. Nice. Finished pages. Here you can see everything completed. The folded ribbon. So I just basically take a 2-inch piece, fold it in half, and then stapled it on. Then on the other layout, it's pretty much as is. A couple of things to share with you. Attached this adorable bunny charm with the bookbinding glue, again from the same needle tipped applicator, so that worked great. Just make sure you set it aside so it can cure. And then I glued the button on as well with the jute tied onto it. Something really fun on the top edge here. So once I had attached all of these pieces, I took my crocodile, and in this case I used the small hole, and I punched a hole on each side of the text, right through all those layers. I believe it might even go to the back. No, just on the strip. Okay. So I punched a hole, and then I threaded a double thickness of the jute through that hole and just secured it at the back. Same on the other side. So let's take another look at this. This is just, I don't know why it took me years, 21 years to come up with this idea, but that's all it is, with the text on either side, the hole, and just thread it with the double thickness of the ribbon and tape it on the back. That's all I did. So I didn't use very much ribbon for this either. Just a small amount on either side that wraps around and meets. It does not go behind the sentiment. Isn't that fun? Okay, so that is layouts 5 and 6. Now I'm going to turn to the previous. We're working backwards now in our instructions. So now I'm on page 3, and I'll take this purple base paper and slide it, stack it on top of the previous, and then bring the yellow over. That should leave us with yellow and green as the base for our next double page spread, coming out of pocket 3 and 4. So just make sure everything is out of there, especially these little guys. Okay, now from the palm of my hand, I will deal out this largest piece to the left edge here. I guess beneath that I have a strip. Now this could go above or behind the purple, totally up to you. Now on the bottom, I'm taking a large yellow mat and then bringing this to, so it's just above it, and it should nest with one of the smaller dark green. So if the dark green mat you try to put on top of it doesn't fit, find the smaller one. There is a little greenery embellishment, just tuck that right in there. Very sweet. On the right side, we have the vertical dark green. These are the larger pieces of dark green. Then balance that with a light green strip nested across the top, and this might be hard to see in the instruction print, but the purple photo mat is nested with this guy. This you can just lob off the corners and add the tag on the left in this open space. Very nice. And now you also do have manila tags. The tags do happen to fit inside the bags. I did test that before we sourced them to make sure they were the right size. So a vertical manila fits perfectly in that spot, along with the bunny, which is designed to fit on the tag. So we really were thinking ahead in many ways here. Then the third and final bag fits with the big things often have small beginnings. And you can accent that with that little guy down over here. To look at the finished pages, we've got page 4. Oh, I did forget this guy. We need a plant tag. He was still in my hand. I just wasn't even thinking. So we're going to put him, I think, down over here, along with the button and everything. Okay, so finished page. The manila tag stapled on the purple ribbon. And they were pretty short pieces, so they didn't extend too far past the top edge. Tied the jute onto the button again. I'm up to my old tricks. I think just really a nice finishing touch there. Over here, stapled the ribbon just like the previous one, and that's really all there's to it. I believe these are adhered to the page with foam adhesive circles. On page 3, I copied or, carried over what I did on the other side by stapling the ribbon to the tag. I didn't even punch a hole, just stapled the ribbon, and then same trick over here with the plant tag, and then the nourish to flourish. Other than that, it was a very easy page to assemble, and we're ready to move on to our final spread. I'll take just the light green and slide it on top of the previous. Then purple comes over. And here we are with everything needed for layouts 1 and 2 coming out of the pocket and into the palm of my hand. Everything's out. Okay. So up on this larger element here, I'm bringing this, just kind of try to get creative because the print had such an orientation to it, but I tried to get kind of creative with how it was placed, and I do like this effect. Below it, we'll add a light green strip nested with purple. You can take the other purple watering can portion, and that goes balanced. So do you see how it's carrying over to the other side? We'll take our 2 larger light green photo mats. Those are going to go here. And then our 2 yellow ones will be placed vertically here at the top. So again, you got your verticals and horizontals. I do try to balance that out as much as I'm able. Now across the top here, we'll take the dark green and mat that with Grow, Thrive, Bloom. Getting there. This dark green piece should have a mate. Look at that. All things grow with love fits perfectly. I love it when that happens. We have 2 manila tags left here. Let's take one of them and place it sort of on top of that nested strip. And then there should be some cut aparts that fit. So we've got grow through what you go through. And as always, a journaling prompt for every single double page spread. We try to make that happen for you because you got to write stuff down so you remember what's going on. Now I made sort of a faux tag thing here. So I had this guy. And I had this guy, and he just sort of fits in there kind of neat. And then this sort of fits on top of that kind of in a cool way. And that's all going to go right over here, kind of tucked in. There. Now, across the bottom, I'll take 3. Look at how nice that fits. It's like I planned it. Oh, wait, I did. And herb your enthusiasm. I think that's so cute. And that goes here and believe here. All right, now what's happening with this page? I did some really cool stuff with the saddle stitched yellow ribbon on the finished sample. So here, this is my other little trick that I just love. And when you have a tag, rather than tying a knot onto the tag or threading it through like luggage style, I always call that, just loop through it with a single piece of ribbon and wrap the ribbon around to the back of the page and secure. That's it. And I pulled the same trick with this other silver bunny charm and the jute. Just looped it around and then wrapped it around the back to make it look like the bunny's sort of hanging there. He's hanging out, and glued the bunny into place still with the glue, even though he's attached, sort of. Now I carried through the use of the yellow ribbon definitely to the other page. So here is my punched hole in what wasn't really a tag that I made into a tag, just to balance what's happening on the other side. Then this is the first one I did with this little trick. So I had my punch again, and if you remember to do it before you attach this to the layout, you're good. If you don't, you need a much longer special punch that has a longer arm on it. So punched a hole on each side. In this case, I did run that ribbon all the way through behind. So it is running back here. and then I wrapped the ends around to the back of the strip before I attached it to the layout. But isn't that a fun way to use ribbon? I'm definitely going to use this in an upcoming episode with Stampin' Scrapbook Expo. I'm doing a bow basics, and I'm gonna add that to the mix. So I just love using ribbon on my pages, and sometimes it's nice to freshen it up with new approaches. So I hope this might be new to you and that you'll give it a try. Speaking of, I hope you give the whole thing a try, and I want to challenge you to not only finish the pages by adhering everything down, but also go ahead and add your pictures. Don't be afraid to glue everything down before you know what will end up on these pages. You'll be glad you did, because you will be the most efficient scrapbooker around. Speaking of efficient, join me for the Sprouts card kit workshop as well. We're going to make 12 fabulous greeting cards together, so I'll see you there. Thanks for joining me.